We're going to have a break. Call the meeting to order. We'll begin with a moment of silent prayer and then a pledge of allegiance, please. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call, we have quorum. Supervisor Brander is not here. Also, I want to lift up Linda Durant, Supervisor Durant. What's her birthday? She's 29 years old. And I will not make you sing happy birthday. Thank you. All right, the affidavit of posting. This is a meeting of the Washington County Board of Supervisors. Prior to this meeting, public notice was given by posting a copy of the agenda in the office of County Clerk and emailing the agenda to the West Bend Daily News, which is the official newspaper. In addition, the agenda was emailed to CNI newspapers, Express News, the Boston Statesman, the Milwaukee Journal Sentinel, WIBD, WNBC Radio, and WTKN Radio. The above action is in conformity with the state of Wisconsin open meeting law. First order of on the agenda is consent agenda. I'll make a motion to accept. Supervisor Mahalik, Supervisor Smisek. Want to look one thing out of there. Number D, Supervisor Brander has resigned his seat effective June 30th. We're going to miss him. He's been involved in serving his fellow citizens for a long period of time, starting as a treasurer for the town of Richfield, becoming a supervisor trustee up until he's still serving there. So we wish him well in his future endeavors. Additionally, we're going to be moving the executive committee meeting for July. It's going to be moved to August 12th prior to the county board meeting, 5:00 p.m. to review any application we get for that position. That will be done by appointments. Additionally, I want to bring up the summer picnic for Washington County elected officials. It's going to be at Glacier Hills County Park, 5:30 p.m. on August 18th. You should all have the letter in front of you. We'll have more information coming forward on that. Okay, any other additions, deletions to the consent agenda? Any questions? Hearing none. Oh. Supervisor Gonerang, let me get you on here. Okay, go ahead.
Okay, thank you. I have one question. On the consent agenda, the way it always was, and the way I have never heard any different, was the committee and department updates were the committee chair people giving a report on their each and every committee that they're on. I haven't seen this on here as a report from any committee other than Christine Dice. Was probably about the last one I've seen on here. Why are not any of the other committee chair people putting their reports on your consent agenda? None of us know what's going on unless we are in each and every one of those meetings without that.
Okay, well, right now we're live streaming all of them, correct? So if you want to attend, you can do so remotely through your iPad or through your desktop or even through your smartphone. So you can do it. I do one too. I didn't do one this month. It's been pretty hectic. I didn't get it out. But I do it on a regular basis to let you know what's going on with me. It's really up to each individual chairperson to file those. It's not a requirement. I would like for it to be done. Just kind of a heads up as to what's coming on, what's been done. So, but it's not a mandatory thing. So it's up to each individual chairperson, but I would strongly suggest that you do, so. Good. Okay. All right, any other questions? Hearing none, all in favor.
Chris. Chris. Chris.
You got another one?
Yep, Chris Dice.
Ooh, I am sorry.
Turn on Joe.
Supervisor Dice.
Thank you. Joe, I just want to comment. I think we usually don't put anything in from the committee chairs because the minutes are all available online as well as the videos of those meetings now. And I think if supervisors want to stay on top of some area, it's easy, that information is easily accessible. All we would be doing, like filling out another written report, is spitting out the same information that can be easily obtained on the county's website. Thank you.
Okay, see no other questions, we'll just vote on this.
These resolutions. Still voting on the consent agenda. Are those moving into the consent?
Oh, I'm sorry. Also, after the consent agenda, well, we don't need to do that right now.
You can move the retiree resolutions into
Okay,
the.
we'll vote on
Sure.
okay, all in favor, of accepting the consent agenda? You probably say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay, additionally, I'd like to take the retiree resolutions 3 through 11 and entertain one motion for all of them. We're gonna be like staging them, coming in, it's not gonna be the normal situation. Supervisor Dice, Supervisor Choi. Okay, first,
John.
first one is Joan Hepp. Okay.
Whereas Joan Hepp has contributed 14 years of loyal service to the citizens of Washington County, and whereas Joan Hepp has chosen to retire from her present position of mailroom clerk in the county clerk's office, now therefore be it resolved that the Washington County Board of Supervisors pause in its deliberations to pay tribute and to commend Joan Hepp for her 14 years of meritorious service. Be it further resolved that on behalf of all citizens of Washington County, this body does herewith extend to her heartfelt thanks for her many accomplishments and successes. Be it further resolved that a copy of this resolution be forwarded to Joan Hepp as a token of appreciation on the part of this board.
Thank you for your 14 years of service to the citizens of Washington County, and I wish you well in your retirement.
Thank you. Thank you. I enjoyed it tremendously. Went from the medical field to the government field.
There you go.
Very good.
Unfortunately, we'll forego the handshakes in this
Right.
particular time of year, so thank you very much.
Thank
Appreciate
you.
it.
Thank you.
Let's just call it out.
Sure. 2020 Resolution 6, Commendation of Christine Larson. Whereas Christine Larson has contributed 15 years of loyal service to the citizens of Washington County, and whereas Christine Larson has chosen to retire from her present position of Administrative Assistant 3 at UW Extension, now therefore be it resolved that the Washington County Board of Supervisors pause in its deliberations to pay tribute and to commend Christine Larson for her 15 years of meritorious service. Be it further resolved that on behalf of all citizens of Washington County, this body does herewith extend to her heartfelt thanks for her many accomplishments and successes. Be it further resolved that a copy of this resolution be forwarded to Christine Larson as a token of appreciation on the part of this board.
Steve, thank you very much for your time of service. I remember going to some of the Education Culture Committee meetings and speaking with you, and really appreciate everything you've done. So thank you very much. Thank you.
2020 Resolution 9, Commendation of Sharon Smith. Whereas Sharon Smith has contributed 21 years of loyal service to the citizens of Washington County, and whereas Sharon Smith has chosen to retire from her present position of legal secretary in the County Attorney's Office Child Support Division, now therefore be it resolved that the Washington County Board of Supervisors pause in its deliberations to pay tribute and to commend Sharon Smith for her 21 years of meritorious service. Be it further resolved that on behalf of all citizens of Washington County, this body does herewith extend to her heartfelt thanks for her many accomplishments and successes. Be it further resolved that a copy of this resolution be forwarded to Sharon Smith as a token of appreciation on the part of this board.
Thank you for your service, thank you for your time here. We really appreciate all of our partners that work to serve the citizens of Washington. Thank you for 21 years of service. Thank you. Take care.
2020 Resolution 10, Commendation of Janine Waraksa. Whereas Janine Waraksa has contributed 33 years of loyal service to the citizens of Washington County, and whereas Janine Waraksa has chosen to retire from her present position of Certified Nursing Assistant at Samaritan Health Center, now therefore be it resolved that the Washington County Board of Supervisors pause in its deliberations to pay tribute and to commend Janine Waraksa for her 33 years of meritorious service. Be it further resolved that on behalf of all citizens of Washington County, this body does herewith extend to her heartfelt thanks for her many accomplishments and successes. Be it further resolved that a copy of this resolution be forwarded to Janine Waraksa as a token of appreciation on the part of this board.
Thank you for your service, 33 years. You started when you were 12, huh? No tears. It's a new start. It's a new start. So,
I'm
but
enjoying it.
we so much appreciate what you've done.
I miss it very much.
Yeah, thank you.
Resolution 11, Commendation of Penelope Wessing. Whereas Penelope Wessing has contributed 36 years of loyal service to the citizens of Washington County, and whereas Penelope Wessing has chosen to retire from her present position of mailroom, she's a registered nurse. Is that correct, Mary Beth? Certified Nursing Assistant. Now therefore be it resolved that the Washington County Board of Supervisors pause in its deliberations to pay tribute and to commend Penelope Wessing for her 36 years of meritorious service. Be it further resolved that on behalf of all citizens of Washington County, this body does herewith extend to her heartfelt thanks for her many accomplishments and successes. Be it further resolved that a copy of this resolution be forwarded to Penelope Wessing as a token of appreciation on the part of this board.
Okay, good. 36 years as CNA. My daughter-in-law's CNA. You guys got to work for your money. You guys work hard, and I so much appreciate it. I'm sure all the people at Samaritan just love you and are going to miss you.
I enjoyed working all these years. It was very nice.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for your service. Enjoy your time.
This needs to be fixed before they sign it. Says
Okay, personal appearances, letters and other communications, UW Milwaukee at Washington County presentation.
presentation going to be up?
Hold on one second. I think it's on that computer, actually.
Hello, everyone. I have a PowerPoint for you, and it is a great pleasure to be here. I thank you for the invitation to speak. I do have some news that I'm going to be presenting as well about the reopening plans for the campus, as well as to give you an overview, realizing many of you as supervisors are new. I also want to introduce the administrator, Paul Price here, who comes bearing gifts.
Could you introduce yourself?
Oh, I'm Simon Bronner, and I'm the Dean of the College of General Studies,
How are you
which
getting the
the
PowerPoint up?
University of Wisconsin-Milwaukee, Washington County is a part. So this is a new U-book that I have. If you want
Which microphone you want, Matt? We really should have you on a microphone because we do have people watching online.
That mic that's up here by
If you go
Mary.
to-
Oh, if you want to go around this way, it might be easier.
Yeah,
Okay.
so we'll get you up on top here.
All right. All right, thank you very much. Our motto as your local university campus is that you can go far close to home at the UWM at Washington County. A bit of history, some of you know the Pick family farm, and this land was purchased in a partnership with the county, and that's part of the reason I'm here, that we do feel we're partners with you, especially with the relationship to the buildings and the campus grounds. This was in 1965 when it was declared a UW Center. The first classes occurred in September 1968. It became part of the UW Colleges system in 1997. Impact studies were done to see the impact of this campus, particularly as it was growing from just a handful to almost 1,000 students, and the impact study sponsored by the Washington County Campus Foundation showed that for around $11 million of expenditures that were going into the college, it was generating almost $18 million within the county. In addition was the Collins Science Center in 2009. Then there was regionalization connecting the campus to other campuses, including Waukesha and Sheboygan at that time. And then in 2018, the linkage was to UWM with the Waukesha campus in addition to Washington County. Currently, we have 605 students. That seems to be holding fairly steady going into this next year. I'll talk a little more about that in our response to the virus in a couple of slides. There are over 30 areas of studies, and we have almost 20 student organizations, so there is indeed a vibrant campus life. So what is this motto that we have about going far and being close to home? If you haven't been near the campus, it is very well located near routes 33, 45, and Interstate 41. There's extensive parking. It includes full and part-time students, mostly of traditional age. Almost all the students are from the county, and most stay in the county after receiving their associate degree or transferring to another campus. It is your low-cost option close to home. You can see the comparison, particularly to Madison and UWM. It is about half the cost of those campuses, and it has remained at that tuition for 12 years. And it looks like the situation now will continue to be at that tuition. We do feature small classes in general education and liberal arts. It separates from some of the technical college. And we also have pre-professional programs in health, business, engineering, criminal justice, and also communications, which I want to mention, which is not up on that PowerPoint. And I might add that we're student and community or regionally centered. Our focus is on student support. We want to be an access institution. We want to give students an opportunity to continue their education, particularly those who might be uncertain about their futures, those who are unsure even about going to college, those who want to work while they're going to college. All of those populations, I think, can find a welcome home at UWM in Washington County. There are student and public activities, and I do want to give a shout out to the scholarship support through the very generous Washington County Campus Foundation and their director here behind the blue mask. So how do we serve the community? The Festival of the Arts is an annual event. It did go virtual during the spring. We have a lecture series. It has been canceled in the fall, but we want to resume it as soon as we can in a performing arts series. There is a community course event combining students as well as community people who can participate, as you see in the photograph, in the chorus and also in a band. We have a very vibrant continuing education and workforce development program and youth camps also sponsored by continuing education. This is just one page from the catalog, and you can see the kind of continuing education that feeds into workforce development, enrichment, and also into community trips and educational travel as we try to respond to a very quickly changing economy and society. In regard to that change, we are aware of the growth of the county. Depending on which scenario you look at, this was produced by the Southeast Wisconsin Regional Planning Commission with 3 different scenarios, high, middle, and low. And whatever direction you take, we see an upward growth. We are concerned about the number of high school graduates. As many of the population are older, we want to respond to them as well, to the needs of youth as we see economic shifts, particularly in the county. And toward that end, we have a very vibrant and robust career counseling program. We have a career counseling officer, and you can see many of these college fairs that we have. We are currently becoming more technological, more wired, and much of the investment, I would say, in the last few years has been in technological upgrades and providing online options. Some of those also include service learning and trips such as the Washington Institute for Public Policy and Service. Maybe some of you participate in that, and that takes students to Madison as the state capital, and then they go to Washington, D.C. It is fellowship driven, and many students who have not even been out of the state or maybe even out of the county had a chance to participate in public service and meet elected officials toward that end. In addition to the regular semesters, we also have summer and winter programs that are even at more of a reduced cost than the regular tuition. So what is my news? How are we responding? We were probably late compared to other institutions and businesses in making decisions on what we would do in this next academic year as we gathered information and did surveys of students, faculty, and staff. We are reopening, but with multiple course options. In addition to face-to-face classes, we are going to have hybrid classes, those that are split between online and in person, and those that are partly online and then partly face-to-face. We do have a higher percentage of face-to-face classes because of our small classes than other larger campuses, and we are seeing an uptick of interest in students from other institutions taking classes with us. We also want to expand the communications and technological support for those students who are working from home and need equipment, and that has also been part of the investment that we've made there. We've been providing emergency grants, partly through UWM, also the Washington County Campus Foundation, and we provided in this last year for students who were uncertain about returning some student incentive funding, the chance to make available $250 for students who registered before a certain time to be able to return. But nonetheless, this past experience has not been kind to our budgets, and in addition, the state, as you know, has also shown shortfalls, and that's part of our support as well. In this slide that I had submitted, I said that it would be between 5 and 15%. Just this week, I learned that it's 7.5% budget cut, which I do have to put in, which is being realized by hiring, traveling freezes, more furloughs, and compensation freezes in addition. This will be hard to manage, and plus we've seen some state rescinding of some funding that we previously received. But we hope that we're up to the challenge, and we plan to press forward and do what we can to bring students back and provide them with a high quality education. So looking ahead, I hope past the COVID-19 crisis and what will be a very tough, tight belt tightening year. These are some of the plans that we have. We want to provide additional associate degree programs. We want to expand to BA and BS degrees, and we are negotiating with the College of Nursing, Health Sciences, Information Science, a general business degree, and communications with the UWN partners to be able to do that and allow students to actually complete their degrees, 4-year degrees, right here in Washington County without leaving. We do need to upgrade labs. We have a network issue, and it's a high ticket item, and we're looking to upgrade the network as technology and the burden on network bandwidth increases, such as Zoom that you have there. And we are also looking to upgrade the facilities. I thank you for some of the work on the parking lots this summer. The theater, which is also showing some age, which has also been part of our public as well as academic purposes, and also particularly in engineering, the upgrading of equipment. We want to expand student support because we think that's at the heart of what we do here. And revising library services in this new environment. We introduced curbside library service. I think it was remarkably successful, and students did respond to that, and we even had some people, to be honest with you, who were parking in the lot, taking advantage of the internet so that they can log into services through our library. Longer range, I inherited, and I think Dr. Price also reminded me of plans and blueprints in the master plan for enclosing the courtyard, to be able to use that 12 months round. Imagine it's limited right now, and it would be over a roof over the courtyard, being open roof. Right now, the gym is as you enter, and it seems timely that there were plans to create a field house and a health sciences facility that would be near the athletic fields that are there, so that we can repurpose what is now the gym for more classrooms. Perhaps ambitious, but I think this is the direction that we need to go, and we need to stay positive and again be your high quality education close to home. So I thank you for your support over the years. I don't know if, Mr. Chairman, there's time for questions, but this is a brief overview of what we're doing in the immediate future and where we're going beyond that. Thank you.
Are there any questions? Thank you for your presentation. Under B, annual audit presentation by Baker Tilly. I believe that's going to be done via Zoom.
Yes. Good evening. Can everybody hear me? Hello there. Can everyone hear me?
We sure
hear you.
can.
Okay, awesome. Again, thank you for letting me attend virtually. My name is Paul France. I'm a partner with Baker Tilly in Milwaukee, and and a new face to the county. The previous partner, John Knable, retired this past May, and I have stepped into his big shoes, and happy to be involved in the audit, and look forward to meeting everybody in person in future years, hopefully under different circumstances. Thank you for having me tonight. I have a presentation that I'm hoping is up on the screen for you. I know it was also provided to you in your packets. I'll use that to ultimately, and if you want to go up to page 1, please, I think you're at the end there. And page 1 of the document itself on the bottom there, I think you're on page 8. Thank you. Thanks. And then if you want to go to where it says status of audit and areas of emphasis, I think it's probably page 4 of the PDF. Perfect. So we have completed the 12/31/19 audit. We've issued an unmodified opinion on the financial statements, and what that means is the comprehensive annual financial report that's been provided to you has all necessary disclosures in there, that all necessary governmental accounting standards have been implemented appropriately, and that the accounting principles have been applied consistently between years. And so this is also known as a clean bill of health. It's the highest level of assurance that you can receive from an external auditor, and ultimately the outcome you're looking to hear. The county does submit that CAFR document to the Government Finance Officers Association, the GFOA, to receive a certificate of excellence. There's a number of things that are required in order to receive that certificate, and I would expect, based on our review, for that to continue to be a received award. Within that CAFR document, I'll point you to pages 19 through 30. And before I dive into that note, this CAFR document is prepared entirely by management. We review it in detail, but it is very good information when it's provided to us. And our audit doesn't identify any material journal entries during the process. And what that should tell you, and what that tells us as the external auditors, is that the financial information that management provides you throughout the year is good, sound financial information to be making decisions from. So again, just a very good note there to add. But I do point you to pages 19 to 30 of the financial, the CAFR document. What this is management's discussion and analysis, and this provides you what I'd say a cleaner English version of some financial highlights with some comparative information to the reporting years, so 12/31/19 to prior years. And so if there's any portion of the document to hone in on to get some further insights, I'd start there. And then there's more details behind that support the information that's within there. It is also part of the audit process. Since the county receives more than $750,000 in federal awards, you have what's called a single audit, both on the federal and state side, where we look at grants, the compliance along how that money should be spent, and ultimately provide an opinion on that. That audit is still in process, but we anticipate issuing an unmodified opinion at the conclusion of that. You can then go to page 6 of the PDF. Oh, not zooming in.
Hold on.
There we go. Page 6. Perfect. The next few pages, I'll go rather quick through. I just can pull out some financial highlights for you to be aware of. I'm sure management has provided this in some capacity with more additional context, and so I'll keep my notes here short and sweet. On the first page here, you can also find more detail on this on page 39 of the CAFR. We take a look at the general fund results, compare that to your final amended budget. So middle of the page, line that reads revenue over under expenditures, you added to the fund balance about $2.9 million this past year in the general fund, compared to a planned budget. You plan to use $7 million of fund balance. So you had a positive swing there. Last number, middle of the page, your ending fund balance in the general fund was $26.7 million. If you go to the next slide, I've provided you a 6-year look at your general fund history. And when we talk about fund balance, this is ultimately the reserves of money available. I'm sorry, my phone is, Siri all of a sudden went off here. So I apologize for that. But this is again, a look at the reserves, and that fund balance is broken down into a number of different categories to help you understand what is truly available and what is truly considered a reserve, or what's earmarked for a specific purpose. And so the $26.7 million is split into the 5 buckets. The first being non-spendable. About $1.9 million is considered non-spendable, and this would be activity that just has not had an income statement effect yet, but will in future years. So for example, a prepaid expenditure would fall into this category. Additionally, in fund balance in the general fund, you have about $200,000 of what we deem restricted fund balance, meaning that it's money that's available for spending, but it has a restricted purpose in nature. The next 2 categories, committed and assigned, about 3.6 and 4.7 respectively. Those would be areas where you've earmarked for specific expenditures in future years, things you're saving for. Leaving you what we deem unassigned, which would be the true reserves, what's unearmarked, about $16.4 million in the general fund. We like to take that unassigned, that reserve number, and tell you what does that mean as far as health. So I take that, I divide it by your operating budget, which is about $39.5 million, and come up with a percentage, and that percentage was 41%. I want to see that somewhere between 10 to 25%. That tells me what, and I shouldn't say 25 is the highest I want to be, but I want to see it at least within that range, if not more, and that tells me it's a healthy fund balance position from a reserve standpoint. So a very healthy position in the general fund. Moving on to the next page, this is just a quick glance at your other governmental funds, your county roads and bridges fund, and really focused in the middle of that page, the line that reads end of year, the fund balance in that fund, but $9.5 million available for the specific purpose as far as what that fund's earmarked for. Human Service Fund has $2.1 million, and then your Economic Development has $8.4 million. Again, all those separate funds have specific purposes for how the money will be spent, but are reported as such as they are. Last column, your non-major funds, it's detailed out in the bottom half of this page. Again, to be spent for specific purposes. If you move to the next page, a quick glance at your business type activities, so your enterprise funds or your internal service funds. And again, I won't point out anything here other than to say net position, in that line that reads end of year, doesn't equate as fund balance would. So it isn't a true cash position. When you see that number factors in assets, capital assets that are owned within those funds. And so I point you to page 43 and 44 for more detailed information on what's available there for cash. On to the next page then, just a quick look at your debt limit. You have the ability to borrow up to 5% of your equalized value. And you have about $14.6 million outstanding in geo debt, leaving you a significant amount there available. You then go to page 12 of the presentation. This is the last page. Just some required communications that we need to have with you. We also issue what's called an insight and audits results letter. In there, we communicate things under our professional standards that we need to bring to your attention in written format. Key things to take away in that document, we highlight any new accounting policies that were implemented during the past year. We list out the significant accounting estimates that we evaluated that management used in compiling the financial information, and ultimately determine that they're clear, neutral, and non-biased. meaning that they're okay to be presented within the financial statements. We note if there are any difficulties within the audit, and truthfully, had we had some, we would have communicated them long before communication in writing or this presentation. We received nothing but cooperation from the team, and truly as a new set of eyes on the books, it was a seamless transition. They were very good in answering my questions and allowing me to get to know Washington County. We list out any misstatements that we identified, or oops.
Sorry.
No worries. If we identified any significant entries that needed to be adjusted in the books, we would have defined them in here. Again, items that we worked through with management were immaterial in nature and well adjusted, didn't raise to the level of needing to communicate them here. Lastly, we list out various non-attest services that we provide to the county, ultimately to deem ourselves and confirm that we are independent, which allows us to provide you the opinion that we have, which again was a unmodified opinion, clean bill of health, and the highest level of assurance that we can provide to you. So with that, be happy to take any questions that you may have for me.
Supervisor Gals.
Hello, Mr. Prince. Regarding the reporting and insight doc that was included in our packet.
Yeah.
Specifically, other key areas of emphasis.
Okay.
So it speaks to pension and OPEB liabilities. So what is the concern there that put it on this page?
Can you give me a page number?
I believe it's page 11.
Page 11.
An insight doc.
Gotcha. And so what this document is in telling you, and specifically this area of it, is as we plan our audit, there are key areas that we look for how transactions are evaluated, and specifically in the terms of the OPEB and net pension. Was that the question?
Yes. So
okay. And again, I'm on page 11 and I'm not seeing it, so I just want to make sure I'm in the right spot. But ultimately, we're noting that we're evaluating the estimates around that area, and to confirm that the information that the actuaries are providing are reasonable to be presented within there, within the CAFR document.
Further, it does talk about the actuarial assumptions. So that's
correct. Exactly. It's again evaluating how management's using that in the report to confirm that it's reasonable information, meaning that we're taking the census, the population of data that is provided to the actuary and confirming that that is ultimately what they used and provided back in determining that liability.
Thank you.
No problem.
Any other questions? Seeing none, thank you.
Thank you again for having me remotely, and appreciate all of management's help.
Thank you, Paul.
Thanks.
Okay, moving on to ordinances. Your I 2020 ordinance 2, the Executive Committee and Human Services Committee 15-28 and 15-33. It's the majority. I entertain a motion to accept. Supervisor Dykes, Supervisor County. Larry, you want to speak to that?
Certainly, this is essentially an administrative change and nothing more. Currently, the transport agency is under the county attorney's office. So I'm the director for the transport agency as well as being the county attorney. Currently, the way the code is written, the transport agency reports to the Human Services Committee, while county attorney's office reports to executive committee. What this does is it puts both divisions of my department underneath executive committee, so that way I only have to report to one committee, give one annual report, for example. If there's staffing issues or questions, just come to one committee with that. And child support, quite frankly, doesn't frequently report or have much to bring to committee. But this way, it really falls in line with what we're expecting of other department heads reporting really just to one committee. So that's what we're asking.
Okay, are there any questions, discussion? Hearing none, vote on this electronically.
No, we're missing one. Oh, there we go.
Motion passes 25-0. Moving on to J, 2020 Resolution 12, disallowance of claim, Carol Jean Booth, it's a majority vote also, entertain a motion to accept. Supervisor Foster, second Supervisor Kellum. Readily on that.
There was a request by our insurance company to ask the board for formal disallowance of this claim. This claim involves an individual who passed away at the Samaritan Health Center, and the family's alleging negligence on the part of Samaritan staff. Our insurance company is asking to disallow that claim at this time.
Any discussion? Seeing none, we'll go on to electronically. I'm sorry, Supervisor Chris Pollock.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. It just seems like, is there a little bit more information on this, or we're just voting? I don't know if that's clear, but it just seems like we're voting for something I really don't have any information on. We're just voting to disallow it. But
It's really a procedural matter for the insurance company. Typically, I know I've worked in law enforcement too, the municipality would typically disallow a claim, and then it goes to whatever, wherever it goes from there, goes to mediation, goes to court.
That's accurate, and to be very honest with you, it's not something at this point in open session you would want to take much time with, because it may result in litigation in the county, and so we would be very careful what we want to say in open session at this time. There are exceptions in the law that allow us to go into closed session to discuss certain things with regard to litigation, but at this stage, the insurance company said procedurally disallow the claim. That means the county's not claiming any liability at this point in time, and that allows the powers that be to discuss further any resolution, should there be one or not, and that sort of thing. You're welcome.
Thank you. Any other questions? Seeing none, we'll go on to electronically. Okay, motion passes unanimously. Okay, resolution 2020, resolution 13. Transfer from strategic priorities fund to the treasurer's office for temporary additional staffing. This will take a 2/3 vote. Supervisor Mahalik and Supervisor Schleif. Is Executive Showman or Matt going to do it?
I can speak to it. So this is a resolution that would allow for funds to be transferred to allow the incoming county treasurer, who is not contested either in the primary or the general election, to come on as a staff member early the month of July. It's actually next week. So what we're asking for is basically some succession planning. This person will work with our existing treasurer a couple of times a month, hopefully, over the course of the next several months, and also with different treasurers from different counties over the course of the next several months. Our hope is that the new treasurer coming in can hit the ground running a little bit better than coming in on day one in January with no experience. So that's the goal. What we're trying to do is a one-time expense. It'll end in the month of January, and that's why it's a strategic priority spend rather than any other kind of spend.
Thank you. Supervisor Mahalik.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This has been done for those of you who are in the county with other positions. I believe our county clerk actually experience this as well. When you have somebody coming in new, you want them to be able to be immediately effective. And if we have the opportunity several months ahead of time in order to be able to do this. We have provided funds to make sure that the county runs as efficiently, as effectively as possible in these elected positions, which is why we're asking this again, just like we had done for the county clerk when she was elected. So thank you.
Supervisor Krebs.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. A couple questions.
You want to speak a little more?
Hear me?
There you go.
First question would be, what's the status of, what would the expected hours per month be during this interim period?
It would be treated as a regular full-time position. So it's almost as if the individual coming in will be working in the shadow environment. That's why not only do we want him to work here in our county, but also to see how other counties operate. And Deputy County Executive is working with other counties to try and find some time where he can work in that environment as well.
Okay, if it's a full-time position, would they be eligible for full-time benefits right away?
Yes, you will be eligible for all full-time benefits. The one exception would be PTO. There will be no PTO. It's an elected position, doesn't have PTO. Myself and actually the sheriff. So it really just like any other elected position, he can come and go as he pleases. But the expectation is a full-time job.
Okay. Last question would be, what is the current treasurer's salary? And because if we're doing 50,000 in this resolution for 6 months, that comes out to 100,000 a year.
Yes, it's probably a little bit more than that. The base salary is about 81,000 in January. So that's the salary itself. And when you put all of the other benefits on top of it, it's probably over 100,000. So it's approximately half.
Okay, thank you.
I think also, talking to what county executive said, you're giving exposure to the new incoming treasurer from other counties to be able to sort out best practices. So I think it'd be of a great benefit for our county. Okay, are there any other questions? Again, this is a 2/3 vote. We'll vote electronically. Motion passes unanimously. Under L, 2020 Resolution 14, authorization to purchase a UVC disinfection robot with jail assessment funds. Because it is a transfer, it will be 2/3 of members elected also. Motion to accept. Supervisor Markwart, Supervisor Shizak. Any questions on that? It's sorry. I need to look at the screen. You're on, Supervisor Schwartz.
I just asked you, what is the cost? And it says we have the funds, but what is the cost? For a robot?
It's 43,000, right?
Much?
43,000. Yeah, it's it comes right out of the jail funds, which are funds that are assessed to traffic violations, and it goes into that fund. Supervisor Krebs.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. 2 questions. If it says possible grant funds might be recoverable for this, would those funds go back to the jail assessment fund or to the general fund?
Jail assessment fund. They go back to the jail assessment fund.
Okay. The other question, what's the expected life expectancy of a robot like this?
I don't know that one. I'd have to look up. I think if we go back to the public safety report, I believe they have
There's
documented.
There's
Nothing there.
Life expectancy.
Okay, yeah, I don't know what the lifespan is on
I'm just wondering if this is something that we would start to need to budget for in the future.
Well, it's really not budgeted, but, if it comes out of the jail fund, that fund is set for purposes such as that. Jail flooring, jail cameras, things of that nature.
Yeah, you still have to budget it even if.
Yeah,
it's
well.
not fun, but if you want to do that in the future.
Right. Okay, thank you. Supervisor Pasquale?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just a question, will there be any upkeep or additional training costs that'll be incurred with this? Any upkeep for that robot and then training for people to use it?
Yeah, I would have just assumed, we don't. Oh, I'm sorry, it's a chair. Yeah, no, nice.
Sure, so I can address that. So the life expectancy, at least with the bulbs on it, is 5 years. That microphone? Okay. So the life expectancy of the bulbs themselves is 5 years. After the 3-year maintenance period that comes with it, there's 3 actually no additional training. It's actually very user friendly. There's about 22 jails down in the state of Wisconsin that use that particular technology, the medical technology that just give a great benefit to use inside the jail itself. And it's not using tax dollars.
Supervisor Mahoney.
Thank you, just to back up the sheriff, because city pressure is disaffecting, doing an awful lot of reading on this. You back up, it is 5 years, that I see as well. And as far as the training, no more that I've seen than an hour or two, literally, just going through and showing how to do, again, what we're experiencing in the city. These are fairly simple things that go, so, again, you stole my thunder.
Okay, any other questions? Supervisor Conrad?
Yes, I'm wondering if one is enough. I'm a nurse. I'm accustomed to these being utilized in acute care, healthcare settings. My concern is, like Supervisor Krebs said, in future budgeting, should we be looking to the future if one isn't enough, budgeting extra maybe for a second one?
What I can tell you is that Dane County has 2 units that go 24/7. Other jails much bigger than ours. We have a 321 bed facility. Dane County is much larger than that. So comparatively speaking, I believe it was Walworth County and comparable to us. They've been utilizing 1 so far.
Supervisor Gauss?
To Supervisor Conrad's question, are we capturing some metrics to determine could we use this elsewhere within the county? Say at Samaritan or any other place where we need to do some higher level of disinfecting?
Yes, it's an expensive unit, so you have to be careful whether it's throwing it back or transporting, but certainly it could be used a variety of different uses. Samaritan is a good example. Another good example is the disinfecting of first responder vehicles. You can put the light next to a vehicle. It can be used to disinfect in 5 minutes. So you're going to sort of shortage of those again. So there are a variety of different uses for it.
Supervisor Schleifer?
Follow up on that, if you're gonna first responder, you have to put it in the unit or just put it beside the unit and disinfect it?
It's a unit that stands about that tall, which is about that round, and you just put it next to the unit, next to the SWAT car, the door's open. And I'm not sure how the technology works, but it actually can disinfect areas behind shadows. So it's proven medical technology as our kind of seal for the jail.
Thank you.
Supervisor Dice?
Marty, can you use this in other departments within the county, seeing as how it's jail assessment fund?
I don't think it should be a problem. I mean, it's going to be, we're initially paying for it through jail assessment, and we're very, very confident that the routes to recovery money from the state of Wisconsin is going to cover, because you're using it for unbudgeted expenses, which is, that's what it is, we're not budgeting for it. So I don't think it would be.
And then my other comment, just for the benefit of the newer supervisors, this is not taxpayer money. Jail assessment money is an extra fee that's added on to tickets, as our chairman stated. And that money is retained as a jail assessment fund, so it's different. It's not taxpayer money. It's for those who violate our speeding and traffic laws and criminal laws. Thank you.
Okay, any other questions? Seeing none, we'll vote on this electronically. Again, it's 2/3. Members left. Motion passes unanimously. 2020 Resolution 15, grant application, United States Environmental Protection Agency. Fiscal year 2021 community-wide coalition assessment grant for hazardous substance control and brownfield. Majority. Jamie, are you going to speak to this or just available for questions? Okay, are there any questions directed to Jamie?
Motion second.
Oh, I'm sorry, motion, Supervisor Kravis, Supervisor Garner. Supervisor Schleif.
Jamie, was this in our committee like 2 months ago, 9 years ago?
It was at your last, it was at the most recent that you presented.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Seeing none, we'll vote on this electronically. Motion passes unanimously. 7 o'clock, take a quick 5 minutes, restroom breaks. Before you go, I want to make an announcement. I'm going to make an announcement again for adjournment. For standing committees, they're all going to meet here, starting as of now. So when you come for your committee meetings, they will be here. They'll be still going to be televised.
Yes.
And also the WCA conference, you guys should already receive emails whether or not you're going to attend. Those who have not yet responded but yet to attend, we have 15 pre-booked rooms. 8 rooms are accounted for. Call Takara at the clerk's office if you plan on going. Otherwise, it's going to pass by. So, don't know for sure if it's going to be in person yet or not. But just in case we have a hotel reserved that doesn't charge us for cancellations. So, all right, 5 minutes.
Signed up for that, right?
I believe so. I think we had you signed up already.
Okay.
I'll double check with you, Mark.
Thank you.
Yep.
Beautiful. Oh, what?
Hi.
We have to talk to Takara.
What?
I had signed up because I thought,
Those are all.
see what happens, but I'll go.
Sure. Okay.
And actually Ethan said that if we share rooms, we can save money, so
Oh, sure.
Carol and I'll share.
Okay. Can you email that to Tara or to me or whoever? Okay. Sounds good. Thank you. I do not believe that this break was necessary. And it's annoying to me.
Give that to you now. It's just payment on,
Thank you.
my business cards.
Oh, sure. Then we can send you. Oh, sure.
County.
We're not gonna have it next week. We'll
So they were normally, they're gonna committee meeting in July, it's gonna be moved to August.
Exactly, yeah, because of the vacancy and the deadline for applications. at the conference call this morning, they decided to meet prior to next month's county board.
Did I miss something? Was it a conference call this morning?
No, you didn't need to be on the conference call.
Oh.
It was just the chairperson, Don.
So there's, in other words, there's really nothing else on the agenda for meeting next week.
Correct. There was one ordinance that can wait until August. So instead of calling everybody in for one ordinance in a 10-minute meeting,
Okay.
Don made the decision to have the meeting at 5 o'clock prior to the county board meeting next month.
Okay.
And at that point, we should have the candidates for the for District 22.
Here now. I don't know who else is going to run. Okay.
Yeah.
I wasn't aware of that, so that's fine. Because I can find something different now. Thank you.
Perfect.
Yeah, I told you about that smile. Get you covered up.
Oh, Jesus. Can you pass stuff out like that?
I don't think so.
Where's Brad?
Hey, Brian.
Oh, no, he is not.
Yeah. That's going to be steady, but
Yeah, but he probably thought it would be 2 hours.
I think, no, he has to break it. I think they figured to take a break out.
Can you remind Don that
We need to cut this stuff out.
tell them that they only have 2 minutes each. If they want to say something.
There's no right to speak.
No. They can only try to. Oh, give a little bastard. Oh, man.
Yeah.
Thank you, everybody. Please be seated.
Yeah, you're looking sure.
Everybody, please be seated. We have one straggler, 3 counts.
Walk slow.
Oh, yeah, one more. We did Jeff was lost for his own. Give him a minute. Yes.
Oh, pick up another straggler.
Got one other straggler, 3 counts. Yeah, we'll have to stay over now, so we'll know. Right, next on the agenda, 2020 resolution 16, Washington County Early Retirement Program. This will be 2/3 majority vote. Entertain a motion to Supervisor Buzzi, Supervisor Pollock. We'll turn this over to County Executive Sharon.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We have Tom Scott with us today, who's able to help answer the questions. He and Deputy County Executive Colonel have helped create the proposal that's in front of you. Just a couple of things about this program that I want to make very clear for you and anybody watching. When we started the process of creating the program, it was prior to the administrative committee meeting, which was prior to any reports on where sales tax was or where funding was at. And all we had to work off of were projections from Wisconsin County Association and others. Those projections are about half as bad as we thought they'd be. Notice I said they're half as bad, I didn't say they're good. So we anticipated anywhere from 10 to 15% reduction in sales tax, which is the largest revenue loss. We are closer to about half of that. So that's a positive thing. But that half, or that 5 to 7% reduction, is still 7 to 9% below what we budgeted. So we're still off for 2020 significantly compared to what we thought we would be. What's making 2021 budgeting and balancing the 2021 budget or 2020 budget by year end difficult is we don't really know what's happening with the economy. If you listen or read really to any economist, there's this artificial injection of money called the CARES Act that has been kind of floating us as a sugar high for the last several months. And it's had a really positive effect on the economy, at least compared to what it might have been. That combined with unemployment payments that are significantly higher for some people who are collecting unemployment than they were actually making in their previous positions, is making it really difficult to tell what happens in 2 or 3 months when the sugar high goes away. Do we come back to what was normal in February, or do we see a significant leg and potentially a crash in the last part of quarter 3, the first part of quarter 4 in 2020, and then leading into 2021? And of course, in the middle of all that, why don't we just throw a presidential election in to make it a little bit harder to predict all that? So we're still in the middle of 2020. The early retirement program is a tool. At this point, even when we presented to the administrative committee, we are not sure that we are going to utilize the tool. We decided to proceed with coming to the county board anyway, because things are changing so rapidly in the market and in the economy in the United States. We feel it's important to have the tool available. If you ask me this moment in time, are we going to use it? I'd probably say no. But a month from now, as the economy turns quickly, it's very possible that yes, we do use it. Early retirement program is a very blunt tool. It's not a preferred method for balancing budgets or even managing employees. But what we thought was coming 2 months ago would have been a necessary tool. Now, I'm not sure that it is. What will follow this at the administrative committee in the next month or two is a severance policy, which can be used much more like a scalpel, whereas this tool is much more like a hatchet. And you have to apply it because of human resources laws at the federal level to a broader swath of employees. And it's also very expensive. So as most of you who know me well know, I have no interest in spending that kind of money, even if it's going to save us money over the course of several years. And we don't want to have to put employees in a position where they have to be forced to consider early retirement, even if you're giving them a nice package to incent them to do that early. So I preface all of that just to let you know, I'm not certain that we use it. I feel like it's a good tool to have available. You'll see in the resolution, it's only a tool that's available to us this year. We were very specific about that. We felt like with the emergency authority that you've given to me in consultation with the chairman. We could have done this earlier, but I felt given the magnitude, it was important to come to you as a county board to get legislative approval. So that's my spiel. Both Todd and myself, the deputy county executive, and that Colonel are here to answer any specific questions that you might have. That's all. Turn it back to the chair.
Thank you. Supervisor Mahalik.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Working in the administrative committee, this was passed unanimously. I spent decades working in HR fields with Fortune 1000 companies. This is a tool that is utilized by the private sector. It's not uncommon. I like the way Judge put it. It is a little bit more blunt, but it's important if we're going to take advantage of savings to do it and strike when the iron's hot. I worked with Director Scott in Human Resources and going over this to make sure that we're only turning this on for a year and then it automatically turns off. So this is not something that's going to be extended over a long period of time. We're not handing the keys to the kingdom when it comes to HR to the county executive, although I think you would do a good job with it. We are putting in what I believe are the requisite safeguards to make sure that it would be handled very judiciously. So I would very much recommend approval of this to make sure this arrow is available in the quiver should we need it. Thank you.
Supervisor Paul.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just in the resolution, are we transferring this as the funds as needed? If we're transferring it all, there's no clause in there that says, will the remaining fund balance be returned? The unused portion, that was my only question.
Yeah, that's a great question. The dollar amount that's in your packet is basically the highest dollar amount we could possibly spend. There's almost no scenario where that practically happens. But to be fully transparent, we wanted to say this could happen. The money will actually never move unless and until someone retires. So, for example, if Ethan, for example, were 60 years old, decided to take a package and it was $50,000, that transfer would happen. And it's just that $50,000. It's not as if we pull the full 1.6 out immediately and then slowly send it back if we don't need it. It will remain in the general fund unless and until individuals know.
All right, thanks.
Supervisor Gals.
While I agree it can be a tool in the toolbox, I'm just not sure if it's the most effective tool for what we may be facing or what we should be looking at. If we're trying to solve a problem for a budget issue, shouldn't we be looking at, since in the language it talks about positions that could or would be subject to this, we would have replaced them. And therefore the expected savings would come from those positions that are not replaced. So that begs the question, should we look at capacity of all our positions in the county and determine which are needed? Because if they're not needed in 2 months from now, why aren't we considering not needing them today? Eliminate those positions and save that money now and into perpetuity, not unlike this is laid out as. The other thing I would caution is, while Supervisor Mahalik is true in his statement that corporate America uses early retirement programs, they're wrought with problems and unintended consequences, and these results aren't always seen. So we need to be mindful and careful. We may very well lose a lot of institutional knowledge and other opportunity costs, and ultimately seeing folks that are leaving that you don't want to, or are ready to leave, and guess what? I find out I can get 6 months of pay and I'm going to retire now versus a year from now. So those are all the unintended consequences of it that we need to be mindful when considering making this tool available.
Thank you. Supervisor Schleif.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I respect what you say, and it's kind of a last chance thing, or, you don't want to do it. If we approve this tonight, is that does that bless it, or will it come back to us if we do indeed decide to use it?
If you approve it tonight, it's a tool that we can use tomorrow. One thing I will say, it's easy and cute to say that there's better ways. Why don't we individually look department to department and be more judicious about individual positions that ought to be eliminated? There's a couple of pieces, assumptions that are made when a comment like that's made. First, that assumes that hasn't happened. Actually, in the last 6 years, we've reduced overhead by about 7%. So it has been happening, number one. Number two, it also assumes that there isn't some impetus to force us to do this at this time. The human resources director can tell you for 6 years we talked about is now the time, is it not the time? Next budget comes, is now the time, is now not the time. When we 2 months ago were sitting in offices talking about how are we going to get through a budget that we think could be $3 to $5 million loss, that's the context of why and how we created this tool. As I said, it's a blunt object that would be our last resort. Nonetheless, it's a tool. So again, at this point, once we got to administrative, we felt, well, since we're here and things are changing so fast, let's proceed. Again, I'm not an advocate of using tools like this or spending money on anything unless I have to. And so unless we feel like we have to, we won't. I feel comfortable having this as a tool in the toolbox, and if we don't need it, I can assure you we're not going to use it. On the other hand, if we get past July and sugar high of $600 in unemployment that you never would have earned in your other job goes away and the American economy tanks, sure as heck that maybe looking at utilizing this. So this is a taking out and paying later. I don't want to use it if I don't have to, but God forbid something bad happens. We're going to pull the trigger if we have to do it without having to go through another 2-month cycle of coming back.
Supervisor.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Who actually chooses to use the tool or not? Is this just the county executive, or would this be the county executive and county board chairman?
Well, legally, it would be the county executive. Practically, it would be both of us, and as well as, frankly, the human resources director, the director of administration who's now with us tonight, Dave Harper, and deputy county executive. We do that. All of those decision-making processes are being collected.
Okay, the reason I ask is you made the comment that you were thinking about this a couple months ago already as part of something that could be done underneath the emergency order, is that correct?
Correct.
So by this board declaring the emergency of this pandemic, we already gave you the power to do that if we wanted to.
Yes.
Just so everyone understands what turning over emergency powers.
We already been sitting here asking you for the authority anyway. I'm just to be clear.
I'm just putting it out there so everyone understands what they voted for when they continue indefinitely to extend the emergency order. It's not just about grant funding and being available for funds that way.
I just want to be clear too.
Nope. This is written for the year 2020. Obviously, it's half over, so this is really a 6-month tool.
Right. A 6-month tool is about a 3-year ROI.
That was my last question. We're spending money up front. What the payback period is about 3 years before we break even on it.
If you can tell me how many people are going to take it, I can tell you how fast we can turn it around, but
Yeah,
2 to 3 years.
It's an assumption of 20 employees, which is what the packet lays out.
Right. 2 to 3 years is about what we're going to expect. And we would utilize priority-based budgeting tools to help ascertain which positions get filled, which positions don't get filled.
Thank you.
And everything is done in concert. when the county executive gets together, I'm in the meetings. Granted, I'm not operations, we're policymakers, but we're in agreement. Moving forward, there aren't surprises, put it that way. So. Okay, any other questions? Oops, sorry. Supervisor Bishop.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm wondering if this is a proper tool for this time. 2020 budget is the one that we're trying to state together right now. And that's when the output on this procedure would happen. That money would be in our accounts now. And like you said, the return of investment would take 2 to 3 years. It isn't going to help us this year or even next year then, at that point, for the overall budget.
Yeah, so think about it this way. You're correct. It will not help us in 2020, and we're actually not utilizing it to help us in 2020. And I've explained this in the past, but for those of you who are relatively new, when a recession hits, government typically doesn't feel it for 2 to 4 years. Okay, so by the time we really start to feel the profound impact of a true recession, it's probably 2022, 2023, or 2024. And that has everything to do with how property taxes work, generally speaking. So what you're considering is a general fund transfer. So we're taking money from our savings account, not from our checking account per se, not the operation. So it won't have an impact on the operational budget of 20 or 21, and probably not 22. It's really 23, 24, 25 that you start to get that ROI that I talked about before. So there's a lot of reasons it may or may not be a good tool. That probably is the least of our worries. The bigger concerns are some of the things that were pointed out before. The institutional knowledge you're going to lose. With a tool like this, there are certainly positions that can be identified that it's, in a time like this you might eliminate. There's also going to be good people that you're going to lose. And all of the people that you lose have institutional knowledge, good, bad, and indifferent. So those are probably higher priority issues that I look at, and acknowledging Supervisor Gallus's point. Whether or not it helps save money immediately is probably lower on the priority list, because this is really trying to look 2 or 3 years down the road.
So to your point that we're pulling this out of the general fund, basically our savings account, we're also looking at having to pull out of our general fund just to get through this year. So it wouldn't be the only thing, if we use it, that would get pulled out of there.
That's correct. And we have had that discussion. You heard some of the report today from our auditors. We have a healthy fund balance. I feel comfortable saying somewhere between $3 and $6 million we could utilize anywhere over the course of the next 3 to 5 years. And by then, generally speaking, short of some massive depression, county should be able to recover. So this is within what I'm comfortable managing.
Thank you. Okay, any questions? Seeing none, we'll vote on this electronically. Motion passes 18-7. Resolution 2020, Resolution 17, Washington County advocates the constitutional rights of a citizen that requires a majority vote. To take a motion to entertain. Supervisor Schleif, Supervisor Bosser. Before we go in and talk about it, I want to make a statement. This resolution was drafted to affirm our oath of office that we will uphold the Constitution of the United States and Wisconsin and will protect the constitutional rights of the citizens we represent. There is no more sacred duty of this body than to fervently support our Constitution and the rights it affords to our citizens. This resolution emphasizes that this body will abide by our Constitution as written and will passionately defend it against those who would attempt to subvert our citizens' constitutional rights. Sharon.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. First of all, looking back on a little bit of the history of this, this was first brought up in the last county board by Supervisor Basel as actually a second amendment sanctuary type of thing that we've seen passed recently in Waukesha. So this goes back to last fall. Then the elections happened and COVID and all that happened. And so it never really got any traction or got finished up. It was one of those leftover things that needed to be done. I brought it back to the chair and told him that it's something that we perhaps needed to look at for our citizens. And he agreed, and then sometime later came back and said, you know, we're going to look at the amendments. We should look at all the amendments and what it's really our whole duty to uphold the Constitution. And I really like the idea of that, because at that time, when it was coming through, we had just went with the governor who had what I believe was legally did the lockdown, and he had 60 days. But then, even though he said he didn't have the constitutional authority, he went through one of his cabinet secretaries to continue the lockdown. We, of course, are excellent and outstanding county attorney. We fought that extended lockdown. Our county attorney filed an amicus brief with the state Supreme Court, and that brief was actually cited by the Supreme Court in turning down Governor Evers' extended lockdown. So Washington County has an excellent tradition of fighting for the rights of its citizens. We are a leader in the state, and this is to reaffirm that we will continue to be leaders in this state to fight for the constitutional rights of all of our citizens. And so I hope that you don't perceive this as just being some kind of vote for fresh air or something like that. This is going to be something serious, and there's a lot of passion behind it, a lot of people on both sides. But we want to make sure that the oath that you took on day number one, that's something that you're committed to, despite what other government bodies try to do. We are going to hold true to the Constitution. We are going to fight for it at every level and every opportunity. That's who we are. This is one of the most conservative counties in Wisconsin. Who would lead if not us? Thank you.
Supervisor Vistali.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I do support this and understand why we're doing this. I know today and yesterday I received some communications and emails and phone calls from constituents, and they're asking, why are we wasting our time on this? It does nothing to help with COVID. And I think that's the one area where in this time where there's so much going on and there's so much friction, if you will, there's so much going on. I think at some point we need to talk about that. They're looking at this. I know the gentleman has suggested about wearing masks, and we want them to follow the CDC, but I think if we as a body give them direction in this time, that's something that we need to talk about real soon. So.
Thank you. Okay. Supervisor Mark White.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
I have to admit that when I first saw this, I kind of had the reaction that, it's a little silly, maybe meaningless. But the more I thought about it, and again, in the context of current events and so forth, this is something that essentially needs to be stated. When Thomas Jefferson did the Declaration of Independence, he said, we hold these truths to be self-evident. In this case, it is our oath of office, and it is obvious and it is true that we are upholding the Constitution. But there are citizens out there who are willing to trade their liberties out of fear and for the illusion of security. And we need to say that the Constitution says we have rights, and we are not just going to turn them over to administrators or experts or anyone else who wants to tell us exactly what to do with our lives. Now, they're, willing to be sources of information. They can give us guidelines. They can tell us about the science, but we do not need a few people in a faraway capital to tell us what to do. And what is right for New York may not be right for northern Wisconsin or for Washington County, Wisconsin. So those are the things that we are elected to sort out and make decisions for at the lower levels. That's how our Constitution and our government was set up. And it's for exactly those reasons. So it is not silly. It is not meaningless. This is something that, we need to stand up and say to share with our citizens. Thank you.
Thank you. Supervisor Bossert.
Okay, so I have a couple comments here. And I think first thing I want to do is step away from COVID for a second and look at some of the other challenges to our constitutional rights. We all know our Second Amendment rights are constantly under attack. We also recently, as a state, ratified an attack on our constitutional rights. There was a proposed constitutional amendment on the ballot for Marcy's Law. And all the commercials, it sounded like a good thing. And when I read through it, there's a lot of good provisions in there. But there's one that's very alarming, and that's an infringement on the constitutional rights each and every one of us has. The Sixth Amendment says that if any of us are accused of a crime, we have a right to know all the details of what we're accused of so we can craft an informed defense. But when you look at Marcy's Law and its provision L, it specifically gives victims the rights to refuse an interview, deposition, or other discovery request made by the accused or any person acting on behalf of the accused. Essentially, that means that if one of us was accused of a crime, we would have to wait till the trial to find out all the details of the accusation and then have no time to prepare an adequate defense. That goes against our Sixth Amendment rights. That's one of the things that this resolution supports. There's a lot of talk about this resolution in Mass. Pennsylvania just put in a mandate for statewide masks anytime you leave your home. That literally means that a farmer on his tractor in the middle of a farm field has to wear a mask when nobody's around him. In my mind, that's lacking common sense, and it's an infringement on our rights. Here in Wisconsin, we still have 10 counties that have had less than 10 cases in their county of COVID in the last 4 months. And yet they're treated exactly the same as Milwaukee County and their 12,000 cases. We've had a couple hundred cases here in our county. Currently, we only have 3 people in the hospital. And yet a statewide mandate, which Governor Evers started talking about today, to make us all wear masks, would apply to us the same as Milwaukee County, even though our situation is totally different. And the key thing is, in a crisis like this, that's when government is most likely to try to fool us, to try to scare us so they can take away our rights. Now, talking with a lot of my constituents, before this issue ever came up, I know more of my constituents in my district would oppose a mask mandate than the number who would favor it. And I'm a strong supporter of individual liberties. I'm not wearing a mask tonight. And I'm not wearing one because anytime I've worn one, I feel like I'm suffocating myself. I've had to go into Menards a few times. The second I'm done paying, as I'm walking to the door, I'm taking that off so I can actually get a breath of fresh air. I think when we talk about masks, that's got to be an individual liberty issue. But really, this is about all these threats on our individual liberties. And so I would encourage everybody tonight to vote for this and support it. I think everybody will find that the majority of their constituents will support them in supporting this. And it's only a minority who believe that big government should come down and mandate these things. Thank you.
Okay. Supervisor Krieger,
The emails that I received, almost all of them, said that we are going to be banning masks, that we are putting people's health at risk, which that is not at all what this is doing. Just the background that I know about it is the Supreme Court ruled that a unelected bureaucrat did not have the constitutional authority to levy fines and jail time. And the way that some of the counties are getting around it, they're saying, okay, we're going to give it to our Department of Health. And that's the issue that we're trying to correct here, or make sure doesn't happen in Washington County, is to give an unelected bureaucrat more power than an elected person. And it doesn't say that we are not for safety in COVID. I've read the reopening. There's a lot of very good information in there, a lot of good recommendations that if you choose to follow them, you can, but you're not required to. But we should not allow unelected bureaucrats to fine and put us in jail when our elected people have not even had a chance to vote on it. And I think that's what, to me, this is mostly speaking to. And I'm certainly in favor of this resolution. It just reaffirms that we stand behind the Constitution. Thank you.
Thank you. Supervisor Schwartz.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. You know, all this talk going on with knowing where should we wear it, shouldn't we wear it. There's only one problem. They have embedded into older people's minds with the mask thing. And you're not going to change those people. I mean, you're going to have some younger people like you. Yeah, okay, I don't wear one because I don't wear one. But they've got these older people so psyched out that it's, you know, God bless you, I hope it happens, but they're going to keep wearing it until Jesus comes down and says it's okay. Thank you.
Supervisor Dice.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I guess what I'm feeling is sadness that COVID virus has become political. I think that has just taken away from this country what we are supposed to be as citizens of this country. Maybe I'm naive, but my feeling is that this country was founded by people who cared about their daily life and how they wanted this country to be. My dream would be that we care enough about each other to do whatever it takes to keep all of us healthy and safe. I don't think we should be saying disparaging remarks about people who want to wear a mask or about people who don't want to wear a mask. Right now in our county and in our state at this point, there is no mandate for us to do any of that. And then I thought, well, what is the role of this county board as far as COVID goes? And I think it is that we should be supplying the most current information available about this virus, which still is, you're hoping it's the right thing to do. You're hoping that what you're doing is keeping you safe, and keeping those around you safe. I think that's the duty we as a county board have. I don't have a problem with this resolution because for over 20 plus years, I have taken this oath in all of the different elected offices I have held. And I've always felt I'm here to defend the Constitution of the United States and of the state of Wisconsin. But I'm here to do the best that I can do for the citizens of this county. And these are nonpartisan offices that you hold. You may be a staunch Republican, you may be a staunch Democrat, but here we are a county board who are here to help all the people in this county, to be kind to each other, to be helpful as much as we can to make sure that the people in this county have the best life that they can have. And that we provide the services that they need to get them there. So I've held so many elected offices, and yet if somebody asks me if I'm a politician, I usually say no. Because that's not, I've never felt I'm a politician. I just want to make this place the best it can be. And I hope that's what we're all here for. And I hope that our citizens in this county appreciate the fact that you have people who are willing to sit here and listen through these meetings and try and make this a good place for you. So I'm not really sure what my point is, only that I just wish we could care more for each other, because
You're here.
that's what we're here for.
Thank you.
Amen.
Thank you. Supervisor Conrad.
Up there. But I do just want to say that this.
Oh, I'm sorry. Must have put you twice. Sorry. You're on. Oh. All right, hang on. I'll get you. You're on.
I just want to say about this resolution, it's about upholding my oath and it's about the Constitution. It's not about wearing masks, it's not about COVID. It's about upholding my oath to office and the Constitution. And so I will be, of course, voting accordingly. I did get a couple of emails and a phone call too, with people very concerned. And calling, concern as as a political stunt, but some things that are out there in our world of media and Facebook, unfortunately things get twisted and off course, but and emotions can run wild, but just so my constituents know that I will be voting accordingly. This is upholding my oath in the Constitution, and that is what this resolution states, and that's how I will be voting.
Thank you. Okay, seeing no more discussion, we'll vote on this electronically. Motion passes unanimously. the Washington Ozaki County Public Health Department. I need a motion to suspend the rules. Supervisor Gallup, Supervisor Caution. It's a 2/3 vote. We do that electronically to the suspend. Yeah, this is for suspending rules.
Why?
Why?
To
Because
consider.
I brought this up and didn't go through a committee
For consideration.
for consideration, so, yeah, I'll speak to why it was brought up in a second. So, motion to suspend the rules and ready. What? All right, one more time, please, go ahead.
We're voting on the motion to suspend?
Yes. Motion passes unanimously, the rules are suspended. Motion for 2020 resolution 18 support for the Washington, Ozaki County Public Health Department. Need a motion. Supervisor Mary, Supervisor Sorcy. I'm going to begin the discussion of this. This resolution was drafted at my request to show our support for the Washington Ozaki Health Department and our outstanding efforts to help keep our communities safe. Their recommendations, not orders, are meant as a guideline to help mitigate the spread of COVID-19. There are those who have criticized and condemned not only these guidelines, but have directed their anger at the employees of the health department. This is not acceptable, especially here in Washington County. The proper venue to direct your displeasure is at the county board chairman, our county executive, or your supervisor that represents you on this body. We are the policymakers. The health department has been doing an excellent job during this pandemic. They've been ahead of the curve in providing guidance and direction to businesses and citizens in the wake of this infectious disease. Cast your anger and aspersions at us and let the health department do their job in the best way that they can do to serve you and preserve a safe community. Thank you. Supervisor Kelly.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm really glad that you brought this issue to the table. It's kind of, I can't help but feel somewhat responsible myself for some of the stuff that was said. I tried very hard to defend our health director, Kirsten. She's done an amazing job for us. She's kept us going. She's given us great counsel. She's made sure that when the extended order, when we started working on the plan to reopen that Executive Sharon put together, she was instrumental in getting that done, and her team. And I think her team probably saved a lot of lives with the nursing homes and their quick action and contact tracing, all the things that they've done. I haven't forgotten any of that. And I hastily tried to support her because I truly am indebted to them for all the hard work that they've done. And it was a shame that some people took it upon themselves to twist my words to make it sound like she was somehow involved in the politics. She has completely been apolitical. She has nothing to do with anything that we've decided as a board, other than give us great information and take care of our people, especially our most vulnerable citizens. So on behalf of myself, I'd like to say that if I've caused you any harm or grief, I do apologize. It was certainly not my intention because I really respect the job that the health department has done, all the hard work they've done, and I can't say enough. And to reiterate what the chairman says, it is our job. I know all of you have gotten several emails that I should be censured, I should be thrown off the board for some of my views, particularly the newspaper article, and they twisted it into some big fight that it never should have really been. It amazes me that
a county supervisor, a politician fighting for the rights of the people somehow becomes public enemy number one to some people. That's just outrageous to me. You would think it would be quite the opposite. So I guess in closing, again, I want to reiterate that I am deeply sorry for any offense that I might have created for the health department, completely unintentional. It was mine, in fact, my attempt to try and protect them from some of the unruly and unkind comments. You should see my Facebook. Holy cow. There's some horrible, god-awful stuff directed at me and phone calls that I've taken as well. And I'm okay, because that's what I'm here to do. I'm here to look out for the citizens and suffer the arrows. That's what I signed up for. I don't run away from that at all. But I do respect our good people that work for us. So with that, I just say thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you. I've been copying all of them too, so. Supervisor Bosser.
I don't envy the position Kirsten's in right now. It's almost like the three bears, too hot or too cold. There's so many people out there who think that we're either not doing enough to safeguard people or that we're doing too much and we're taking away liberties. And I think Kirsten's trying to strike a very good balance in issuing advisories, but not mandates. And I commend her for that. That's in the spirit of protecting our Constitution. But this is a bad situation and everybody's gonna look to find fault with how we do it. Nobody's gonna be happy. And we gotta do the best we can to hold to our principles. Kirsten's doing that. I support this and I support what they're doing. It's not perfect, but who can do perfect in this situation? I think she's doing a real good job and I commend her. Thank you.
Any other discussion? Seeing none, we want to answer electronically. Yeah. Okay. Motion passes unanimously. Communication from the county executive. Okay.
Thank you. Well, 1 second.
Again, save the date. Make sure you contact Kara and you go there. I'm bringing the refreshments. And
What's that date again?
that is August 18th. You have that on your desk. All future committee meetings meet right here. Check your website for make sure you come at the correct times and dates. In the WCA conference, make sure that if you're going to go, let us know right away so that we don't have to cancel the rooms before you get them there. So, and again, the executive committee meeting for July moved to August 12th, 5 p.m. prior to the county board meeting. With that, we're adjourned. Next meeting date, August 12th, 2026.